Hey dorks, just a quick message reminding you to head over to twitch.tv/mindgappodcast and give us a follow. We live stream when we record our new podcast episodes, and we're live streaming video game sessions on Saturday nights at 8 o'clock p.m. Central Time. We're playing super rad stuff like Among Us, Keep Talking and Nobody Explodes, Jackbox games, and Tabletop Simulator. Come hang out and play along with us. That's twitch.tv/mindgappodcast.
Mind Gap Podcast.
Hey everybody, welcome to Mind Gap Podcast. I'm Doug.
I'm Justin.
And it's another day, it's another dollar. Life is capitalism. So saith the Lord. Amen.
Not if you listen to, what is it, Timothy O'Toole talk about Squid Game? What's his name? Peter O'Toole?
Tim Pool.
Tim Pool, that's the one, Deadpool. Listen to him talk about Squid Game, and yeah.
Yeah. Have you watched it yet?
Oh, no.
Oh no. Oh,
Absolutely not, no. Doug, I have far too much to do. I have Billions I'm watching. I have
right.
Dune I'm watching. There's too much to do.
That's fair. Yeah.
I do. I guess I can't remember if I said it on the podcast or to who I said it, but it's one of those things where it has officially hit the cultural like lexicon where I can't ignore it anymore. It's one of those things where you have to watch it or you'll get left behind on way too much at this point. So I do need to buckle down and just watch it and blow through it.
I think you'll enjoy it. I really do. Yeah. I think it'll be something that you'll enjoy, and I think it'll be something fun to talk about and discuss.
I just don't know why I have a hesitation on it. It's one of those like...
Oh, I think we kind of talked about it. You were just like, you're like, I've seen the Hunger Games. Why do I need to see this,
And it, like, logically, I know it's not that. And so many people, including yourself, have told me how great, it's a different story and it's not like anything you've seen and yada, yada. But it's this weird, like, logically, I know, but I just can't bring the rest of myself along to sit down and watch it. So,
yeah. I mean, honestly, Korean film is just, it's so good. Like it's so good. And their approach to most things is fascinating. Someone tells me this is like something's a Korean film, you should check it out. I'm already like, cool, I'm on board.
Yeah.
Like that's a huge selling point for
any non-American storytelling. I feel like we've grown up just so inundated with American storytelling and American stuff. And if you don't think it has a style, you're wrong. It does.
Well, it's so funny because when I was on You Haven't Heard This Music podcast, Richie did a throwdown of U.S. rock versus British rock versus Irish rock versus Australian rock. Sure. And he was like, I mean, this is a no-brainer. It's British rock. And, he came over. He's like, Doug, make the argument for your country. I was like, I really can't. Because what America is really good at is taking other people's culture, mixing up a little bit, and then just super loudly broadcasting it everywhere else. Like, our culture is everywhere, but our culture is also other people's culture. You just sort of repackage vis-a-vis most movies. It's like, and now for the American remake, which is, I don't know, I'd say most of the time not as good as the original, because especially when it comes from places like Japan, they have just their approach to things, their mindset on things is so different from ours that
very much
we can't really capture the essence of what it is. We can only just Americanize it. We're like, all right, how are these dumb fucks going to figure out this plot? Or what? Yeah. Or just, the idea that, I think that's why Squid Game is so popular, is because it transcends cultures, like struggle people are going through in that, versus other things where you think about, what is honor? Honor is drastically different in America versus other places of the world. Like the idea of sacrifice in some cultures is paramount. Like it is one of the best things in the world you can do is sacrifice yourself for something. Whereas we like to tout that sacrifice is cool and that we'd pay the ultimate price. We really don't. We're pretty selfish, and we've been kind of bred to do that, to be selfish, and ultimately that will be the downfall of our country. How are you doing this week?
I am lifted up now after that TED Talk. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Actually, I would. Jon Stewart's got a new show on Apple TV Plus, and his second episode. I think they release every 2 weeks. So his second episode, whenever that came out, he dealt with freedom, and the show's called The Problem With, or The Problem with Jon Stewart, and it was The Problem with Freedom. And he went through at the very top in the monologue he did, talked about freedom, what freedom costs, but not being willing to pay that, but still wanting. And he talked around this freedom circle, basically. And in and of itself was basically a paradox.
Yeah.
And it's funny how much we tout that freedom, and that is freedom is truly American, and that's what we have, and we're freer than any country in the world. And how much of a bullshit statement that is, because it's only about your personal freedom. It's not about the freedom of the
exactly.
The people who tout that the hardest are the ones that the ones that aren't willing to actually recognize other people's freedom, which is ironic. So
yeah, that's such a really good point, because it's
jacked up as far as storytelling goes too.
It's something that is hard for most Americans to wrap their head around. The idea of sacrificing yourself for the greater good. We say stuff like that pretty willingly, but I don't think people really understand like what that truly means to, jump on the grenade, so to speak, to save other people. And I mean, Jesus, people won't even pick up garbage in the park, the place that we all use. It's just, when I go to the gym and fucking animals there, like just a bunch of dirty ass animals who I just walk around. They don't put their fucking weights away, because God forbid you be bothered after your set to take your shit off, and they just leave their shit everywhere. Not only do they leave weights everywhere, but they just leave they'll spray stuff down, and then they'll wipe it off with the paper towel. They just leave the crumpled up paper towel around. And a lot of times I just do a little thing. I'll pick up 2 things while I'm there. I'm like, cool, here's something I see, I'll throw it away. Here's some dumbbells, I'll put them back, because I'm like, this is my gym too. And I want to have a good experience, and I just look at these fucking animals who are just, selfish,
horrible
cocksuckers who are just, I don't know, man. This is going on a wild tangent. Welcome to Doug Hates Stuff.
I was gonna say, did we already get into this? All right.
Stuff is stupid. Stuff is dumb. Doug hates stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, I gotta pair that with your. Hold on. Try it again.
Stuff is stupid. Stuff is dumb. Doug hates stuff.
It was right over the record scratch. It was a little too much. I'll figure it out.
Yeah, we've got a new fart here, ladies and gentlemen.
We do.
Yeah.
No, but tangents aside, I think the point being that we tout a very specific type of storytelling, and that like we, it's all about like freedom and this, and there are the things. So a lot of the things that we tout are way more honored and observed in other countries, and that like the idea of honor and everything that you were talking about. So any non-American storytelling is worth a look, I think, is what we're saying.
Yeah, absolutely.
If I could bring it back from animals at the gym, non-American storytelling.
Yeah. And if I could take it back to animals at the gym, what I really hate, and this is kind of just goes beyond the gym too, is I watch this one woman in particular like do a lot of selfies at the gym. And let me be clear, this woman, objectively gorgeous.
Okay.
But when I watch her at 6:30 in the morning, like continuously pose and take pictures of herself, like slowly lifting down her shorts or doing whatever, I just want to throw a 45-pound plate at her and just be like, will you just fucking lift already? Like, do that shit at home. Like, it makes me feel so uncomfortable when I look and see someone just taking pictures of themselves. I'm like, that's gross. Do that in private, man. Like, I don't want to see you taking pictures of yourself in the gym. Like,
Doug, it's her gym too.
Agreed. But don't tell me you don't have mirrors at your house, girl. Like, go do that.
Not the same. It's just not the same. And the ambiance, they have to know you're.
The lighting sucks at the gym, Justin. The lighting is terrible.
Yeah, but have you seen her pictures? She makes it work.
Oh, okay, good for her. It's just that is one of the most unattractive things to me. Like to be like anytime I watch people take the selfies, I'm like, God, this is weird. Just
at the gym or anywhere.
Anywhere.
So you don't like selfies?
No, because there's this episode of Scrubs where Brendan Fraser's in it. He plays Dr. Cox's like best friend who's also his ex-wife's brother. So his brother-in-law, more or less. And in this episode, he's taking Polaroids of people, but he doesn't say cheese or anything like that. And you know, Zach Braff's character is like, why do you do that? He goes, I love taking these pictures because they're real. They're honest. He goes, post pictures suck. They're not what real life is. And that's what I feel like when I see someone doing a selfie repeatedly trying to get that good shot with duck face, you know, and you could see them just constantly doing that. It's just like, I don't know, man. It drives me nuts because if I can continue my tangent just a little bit longer, we spend too much of our time looking at life through the lens of a digital piece of equipment. Like,
oh shit, here we go. Hold on. I got to get you a good, maybe this one.
Listen, stop looking at life through your phone. Okay? Put your phone down and look at the sunset. Watch it. Enjoy it. You don't have to take a picture of it because, first of all, it's not going to look as good as it does in real life. All right? Unless you're a professional photographer who knows how to capture that shit with the right camera, just don't bother. All right? Second of all, you don't have to record everything. You don't have to capture these things like Voldemort splitting his soul into Horcruxes around the world. Right? Like, just take a moment, watch your kid play on the playground, watch your kid do something, watch your dog do something, and just enjoy it. Then move on.
There it is. Okay, sorry.
I'll say, again. Is this the sexy one now? Like we're like,
no, that's this. Nope, hold on. Nope,
we are having a problem tonight, Justin.
This is the one. That's the sexy one.
We have a problem.
We don't want that one. We want the downbeat. This is the real talk.
Hey, real talk. Put your shit down. Use your eyes. And take in the world, all right? You don't have to sit there and collect things. We don't have to collect memories all the time. Because how often do you go back and look at that shit? Honestly. Like, how often do you do it? Just...
Are you asking me?
In general, Justin, speak for the rest of the world. Justin, how often do you do it?
Oh, twice a month.
Yeah, there you go. That's something special.
Honestly, the thing is, I don't... if I'm looking for a specific photo to show someone something, I'll do a quick reminisce of like, oh, I remember, and I'll get lost in the photos. But I don't ever find myself just randomly sitting there and going back and looking at the photos.
Yeah.
Every photo that I've taken, I'm like, oh, I'll come back, and I'm glad I have this, or a video that I took. My biggest regret, not biggest, one of my big regrets of life is when I did my second marathon. I was going for a specific time. And I was going to hit it. And I came in under my goal time, but I could have been faster. At the finish line, that last 0.2 where you're running down that straight stretch towards the finish line, I pulled my phone out of the thing, and I had it in a Ziploc bag because it was rainy that day. So as I was running, I was unzipping it, I was pulling it out, and I have a video of me, I had a video of me crossing the finish line. It cost me about 30 seconds, and it could have been another minute under as far as the time goes. And I will always remember that I could have been faster, and I have yet to watch that video.
Yeah.
Because it's shaky. I had just run 26 fucking miles.
Yeah.
There's no way that was a good picture. My hands were shaky. My body was giving out.
Yeah.
And it's just a shit video. Didn't need it. I should have just finished the race.
Yeah, and I'm not going to say that I haven't felt the compulsion to grab this, but I've also been very aware of like, just enjoy it. Enjoy this moment. You don't have to try and grab it and hold on to it and file it away, tuck it away. We got that one saved. What's next? Ooh, let's get that one. Let's tuck it away. Let's keep it safe.
Now, it's not to say too that there is something, I think the difference is that they're so disposable now.
Yeah.
Because I look back, I have looked through, I've got a box of old family photos from the 90s, from the 80s. my parents from the 70s and 60s. Like, I have some old school photos that I have looked through, and about maybe once a year I'll pull them out and just kind of sift through them again. But you had to know what you were shooting.
Exactly.
At the time. You had to really not that you're going to sit there and compose a shot, but you couldn't just and just go nuts with a camera and take 50 pictures and then be like 49 of these suck, and really that 50th one's not that great either. But it's so easy and you don't have to think about it. I think pictures from back in the day, there was a point in taking them because you were documenting that point, that time in life. And now it's just, if you take your phone out and take one picture and put it away, that's the equivalent of what used to happen.
Oh, yeah.
But the people who sit with their phones out and are staring through those screens, you are missing life.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and absolutely capture what you want to, but also be cognizant of, should I just sit here and enjoy it? Enjoy the moment. Don't grab it and tuck it away. You don't necessarily need to. It becomes excessive, weird. If you're in the gym, fucking knock it off. Go home, the privacy of your own home, and take your fucking selfies, man. Like, I don't want to see you taking pictures. Yeah. Trying to get your glam shots. Like, fuck off.
A few years ago, I had that revelation at concerts. Was everyone with their, and I used to pull my phone out and I'd record concerts. I'm like, why? Why am I recording this? I'm never going to go back and watch a 30-second clip of some song at a random concert that sounds real shitty on my iPhone. Like, that's not how I'm never going to go. Why not just be in the moment and enjoy the thing you're watching? You were here. You don't have to show anyone you were here.
Yeah.
You show someone that video, they're going to go, cool. Yeah. It's just kind of glowing figures on stage because it's too dark. At the time, it was too dark to actually have any sort of definition. Yeah. And it sounds like crap. Yeah. So you see everyone with their phones out at the concert. You're like, what are you fucking recording? Just be there.
Yeah. Especially with shit like that, man. Just grab it. Enjoy it.
Yeah.
Hold on to it there in your memory and move on, because it's not going to be great. And good luck taking photos there too. It's getting better. Devices are getting better now, but trying to capture like all the lighting and everything that's going on, capturing a photo, it's tough. It's real tough. So just enjoy it. But
I think that's the lesson here.
That's the lesson. Put your shit away and enjoy it. All right. God damn it.
Right. So non-American storytelling.
Yeah. Cool. Good stuff. We got to do. Let's before we move forward, let's take care of some housekeeping. Housekeeping. Hey everybody, if you don't already, check us out on Spotify or wherever you can get your podcast, but particularly we are on Spotify. Check us out there. And if you could do us a solid, do us a huge solid, wherever you listen to us, give it a rating and leave us a review. It would mean the world to us if you do that, and it could lead other fans to great content like our fart soundboard, and these amazing conversations about me hating things. Someone could be missing that right now. Someone is missing that right now, and you could be like, guys, listen to this. So please, it would mean the world to us if you do that. Also, come check out our Discord family, baby. You don't know what Discord is? It's essentially an online community. It's like a forum, but it's in real time. You can send messages to each other and everything like that. And we've got a great community of folks for Mind Gap. We set up game nights, are looking for group channels. We post a shitload of memes and have great fun conversations. Noah was sharing his shrimp po' boy recipe the other day and sending some pictures.
Okay.
Amazing. You've got the podcast stuff where you can ask Practical Doug. You can suggest throwdowns and guest ideas and all sorts of shit. So please come check it out. You can head over to twitch.tv/MindGapPodcast. The About section, you'll find a little banner that says Discord. Just click on that. It'll take you right on over. Join us and hang out and get to know everyone and be part of everything. Best. Also, don't forget to check out our merch at redbubble.com. Search field type Mind Gap Podcast, all one word, and you'll come up on our page where we've got some great Mind Gap Podcast stuff with the Mind Gap Podcast logo on it. T-shirt, hoodie, drawstring bag, backpack, get a travel mug, get a coffee mug. There's all sorts of stuff. Get yourself something nice and support the podcast. Same time. And last but not least, check us out on Twitch. We live stream our podcast Tuesdays at 8 p.m. Central, although right now it's on a Thursday because schedules. But the important thing is if you go to twitch.tv/mindgappodcast, you hit the follow button and then you turn on the notifications, you'll get notified when we go live. So if you're not following us on our social medias at Mindgap Podcast, you're just like, oh, I'm busy. And then you get the notification. It's like, hey, these dipshits are live. And you can be like, oh, cool. Click a button on your phone, head on in, and you're here. You're here in the chat. You can chat with us while we live stream all of our stuff. We do podcasts on Tuesdays. We do a video game live stream on Saturdays, which is always a really good time. So I play a variety of games, and it's just a good time. And I love hanging out with people, and people just chat with us while we play. So please check us out. And all of those. That.
Done.
So we want to kick off the show.
Oh, yeah.
Something super duper fun, which is everyone's favorite organization. I shouldn't say kind of shit. I don't want to start out shit.
Right. Let's not start out shitty. Let's get there. Let's work our way into
get
shitty.
there. Let's work our way into shitty. The Doug Cochran story. Let's
because the thing is the concept behind the organization is good.
On paper, it makes sense.
On paper, so does communism. But
right.
It's full of good people who have good intentions, but sometimes, and this is not the first time, sometimes they punch above their weight just a little bit, or they're swinging for the fences and they don't always make it.
Well, this is kind of a continuation of a podcast topic we had a couple of years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And the organization we're talking about is PETA, People for Ethical Treatment of Animals. And we talked about this before a couple of years ago, was they wanted to rename things. They wanted to take common phrases and make them more animal. Like right. Instead of, what was it?
2 birds with one stone. It was, instead of kill 2 birds with one stone, it was feed 2 birds with one scone.
Right.
Yes.
Because it was something else about like beating a dead horse, feeding a fed horse.
Yep.
Because they were just like, hey, these things are violent. Or instead of grabbing a bull by the horns, it's grabbing a rose by the thorns. And it was just, like, look. That's the battle we need to do right now. It's like, because I look at that as like, you guys are successful in all your other missions that now we're getting into the vocab.
Right.
You've done everything else.
Everything else is a win. Like we've just, ticked all the boxes off.
Everything else is good. Cool. All right. So
last thing on our list is words.
Yeah. Right. Words and phrases that involve animals. Like okie dokie. So this just sort of popped up today. PETA's call to the bullpen, rename outdated term arm barn instead of bullpen, which is just
the arm barn. There's nothing inherently sexual about it, but it sounds super raunchy.
It's just
anything with barn attached to it doesn't sound right to me.
I don't know, man. It's just, and this is from their official press release. But also what I hate about this is in their press release, they do really bad really bad puns.
Read it to me.
As the World Series turns into a pitching duel, PETA is pitching a proposal to the baseball world. Strike out the word bullpen. All these are in italics, which references the holding area where terrified bulls are kept before slaughter in favor of a more modern, animal-friendly term. PETA's suggestion, the arm barn. Words matter, and baseball bullpens devalue talented players and mock the misery of sensitive animals, says PETA Executive Vice President Tracy Ryman. PETA encourages Major League Baseball coaches, announcers, players, and fans to change up their language and embrace the arm barn instead. PETA notes that cows are hung upside down and their throats are slit in the meat industry, while in rodeos, gentle bulls are tormented into kicking and bucking by electroshocked or prodded. All are typically held in a bullpen while they await their cruel fate. Now listen, that last paragraph, true.
Yes.
True. And I think that's where they should focus their efforts, not on what we call a particular area of a game and suggest the arm bar instead of the bullpen, which I don't think anybody gives a shit about. That's the problem too, is that in general, I don't think people could care less about this. Like, why do we call it the arm barn? It's not like they have like a derogatory name for it for like Jews or something. Like it's like a K factory or something, like
right. I think look, we've in the last couple of years we have absolutely had a reckoning of words matter, right? Words, and they always have mattered, but it has become more accepted and recognized and talked about that words do matter. And there are some words that have been rightfully either repurposed or moved out or replaced, and it has been a great thing. And maybe I don't want to take away from, because again, we want to make it very clear that we are for animal rights and you should not abuse animals, and we are on that side of things. But when it comes to this, I feel like people were paid to sit in a room and figure this out.
Yeah.
And those resources could have been better utilized, maybe trying to stop rodeos from treating bulls that way instead of changing the word, which again, before I took an unofficial poll before we did the podcast with some people at work before the end of the day. And I asked them, when you sent this to me, I didn't have a lot. It's not a big sample size, but I talked to some people and I said, when I say bullpen, what do you think? All of them said baseball. I said, is that in any way, shape, or form conjure up images of animals being harmed? And they're like, no, what are you talking about? Like, it's just not in our, I don't think people are saying it. I don't think anyone's saying it with that in mind. It is just not, it's just not what it is. It's just the place where, now we could also argue, why do we care so much? Neither of us are really baseball fans. So name it the arm barn. Who cares?
Yeah. At the end of the day, it's like, if they want to do that,
devil's advocate out there.
I look at this, I'm like, this is the hill we're fighting on right now. Like, this is, again, that last paragraph paints a very horrid picture.
Right.
You're more concerned, again, this is me being kind of like a dick about it. It's like, you're more concerned about naming something the right way than stopping all those things in that last paragraph. Like, how is changing this word going to do anything? And you made a good point. Like, someone sat down and crafted out this shitty press release with these shitty puns and everything like that. And I was like, how do you expect the world to take you seriously when you write shit like it is so bonkers to me that someone was like, we fucking nailed it.
Guys,
call the press. We've got a 3-paragraph release that's going to blow their fucking mind.
This is ready for print. Blah, 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 blah. I think they buried the lead there. Is at the end of the day, for me, you lost me by putting that last in a 3-paragraph press release. That was your last paragraph, and that is the thing you're addressing. Like, bulls and cows are treated this way. When they're treated this way, they're usually put in something called a bullpen. Because of that, we would like to petition that the term bullpen be changed to something else. And again, I feel like arm barn is a very slapsticky, like, if you can suggest something, sure, but maybe just say, we'd like to petition it changed to something else. Holding area. Pitchers warm up. I don't know. Whatever.
The warm up pen.
Yeah. The murder zone.
Yeah.
Is that it? Is that better?
Sure.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm just saying they could have reordered that and made it far more, maybe that's what it is they're in something that they take so seriously. They're taking a very humorous edge to it. And we've talked about, if it's a good joke, it works. If it's a bad joke, and these aren't good jokes.
You absolutely nailed it. They started off with terrible, kitschy puns, and then they're like, terrible things happen to bulls. Yeah, exactly.
It starts off like an Onion article.
It's absolutely horrible. And it's like, how do you expect people to take you seriously? People already struggle with taking PETA seriously. And if you want to be taken seriously, then you need to call attention to those things. Like that last paragraph, I'm like, that sounds awful. And if people need to be educated on that, then you should absolutely lead off with that, not be like, it's time for, pitch a new proposal. You get fuck off, man. I saw someone like reply to the tweet on this. It goes, God damn it. Like I believe in animal rights. And like, but when PETA spends their time on this kind of shit, it just infuriates because it's like, God damn it. You're losing any credibility that you have.
Yes.
About this.
And I think that's the point we're making.
Yeah.
It's the same. We are on the side of animal rights, but for fuck's sake, grow up.
Yeah. And someone else wrote, boy, they're really going to lose their shit when they find out what the baseballs are made of.
Oh, shit.
Which is leather, in case you don't know. Just made from animals.
Right. I mean, and why this and not football season's here? So why don't we change the term pigskin?
Yeah. Which honestly is like, I feel like kind of a dead phrase anyway, right? Like it's kind of.
Oh, I don't think anyone uses it, but why? No. I mean, that sounds like something that PETA would go after.
Right.
Just something that no one really thinks about.
Like, going back to the thing where you say words matter, I agree. But I'm also getting to the point where I'm like, I'm kind of getting tired of just, can we just talk? Can we talk about intention of what we're saying? Like, I'm not saying you can just go around and shout out the N-word, but I'm saying, can we try to think about the intention of what we're trying to say, what we're trying to articulate, and not just look at the text on a page? Like, what is the intention behind what I'm trying to say? Like, right. The intention of Bullpen in Major League Baseball is not the idea of we're going to hold something to slaughter it in an inhumane way. It's called a bullpen. What's that?
Unless the pitcher doesn't perform.
Exactly. In which case they will, give them to the wolves. Is that okay to say? I'm just, we get to the point where people 100% still say pigskin says slaughter. I'm sure they do. But is it as prevalent as it used to be? Like, I don't think so. But I don't know. I don't give a shit. I'm not around those people. So. Yeah. But I get real exhausted of people being like, you can't say this, you can't say that. And it's just like, really, we're getting into semantics? Is that what we're doing? Like, we're just going to nitpick over everything because all that does is just divide people. And if it's harmful, then let's talk about it, right? Like, I'm not saying people just be like, no, man, fuck you. I'm going to say whatever I want. No. But again, it goes back to my thing. I'm like, we need more danger in our life because as a species, as a country, because this is what we're spending our time on. We are literally talking about this right now in a podcast. Like, we need to have more danger in our lives, more existential threats. We need some Watchmen level shit going on right now because
we should be out creating something beautiful. Like,
right.
Why not go out and create?
Right. It's just when we're diving into vocabulary, it's unbelievable. But I guess, thanks, PETA. I mean, if anything, maybe they're smart enough to be like, hey, this is going to get people talking, but I don't think people are going to care. I mean, if I was a Major League Baseball association, I would just write back, no. And then I'd move on. Like, that's that. It's like, now the World Series is here. I'm like, dude, what? You think this is the time?
I'll also say this. Why not go after, let's take going to a baseball game real quick. So you've got the baseballs are made of leather. The gloves are made of leather, right? They serve hamburgers, hot dogs, chicken. They serve a ton of animal byproducts. We'll go down the list, like the bats, deforestation. Like, there's so many other things that we could be going after as far as, it just seems, I guess maybe this is what it is for me. It seems like a very odd, to your point, this is the hill.
Yeah.
It seems like a very odd choice. Like, okay, well, if you got to pick something, I guess this was it. But there seems like a ton of other stuff that you could ask baseball to change.
Yeah.
That would have a much bigger impact.
Yeah. But this is it. Okay.
Those things actually kill animals. This is a thing that also has the same name as a place where animals are kept. One thing is killing. One thing is a thing that's kind of named similarly.
Yeah. An old-fashioned name that, in my opinion, does no harm because it's called that. So.
Yes. And could be taken out of context. I will say in this context, that is true. There are other things. It's an old-fashioned term that should just be fine.
In this particular example,
specific example, yes.
Yes, it's not going to harm anybody. Thanks, PETA, for giving us stuff to talk about. We appreciate it.
Cool. Let's get to the meat and potatoes. Can we say that?
Yeah, we can say the meat and potatoes.
Or the street and tomatoes.
Let's still killing plants.
I feel like PETA wants us to just go Cockney English rhyming style.
Right.
Right? They just want to just rhyme whatever. We'll figure it out. We got you. Yeah.
Let's get to the heat and tornadoes.
There it is. All right, let's get to the heat and tornadoes of this podcast.
There we go. Climate change is real.
This was just our way of getting into an Alex Jones-esque. Yeah.
Frogs are turning people gay. So, question, Justin, have you watched this movie called Dune?
Can I say?
Nice. Cool.
Yes. I watched it last night, and I got things to say. I got things to talk about, so let's dive into this. When did you watch it?
I watched it. I don't know if I watched it Thursday or I think it was Thursday or Friday when it came out. It came out on Thursday. I either watched it that night or the day after. And I was really looking forward to this. I had seen, I think, bits and pieces of the 1980s theatrical release. And there was a sci-fi version of it, which I remember watching bits and pieces of it. So Dune has been this weird, almost like fever dream to me because I've seen things of it.
Way of saying it. That is a great way. Yes, I've
seen bits and pieces of it. So like when I was watching it, I'm like, oh, I remember I'm like, there's a guy that can fly. Right. That guy that can fly. There's I know they're there for the spice. And I remember that there's a guy who's essentially like a messiah, and he can talk funny. And there's
Sting was in it.
There's sandworms. Yeah.
The one thing I remember is the fight at the end of the 84 one, and then that little girl who just goes, "He truly was the Quizards Haderach." And I always thought that's the weirdest. Having no context, not having seen the movie, I was like, "What the fuck did she just say?"
Yeah.
And I was upset in high school. Refused to watch the movie, but was obsessed with that line.
Yeah.
Anytime someone would say something, I'd go, "Well, he truly was the Quizards Haderach," and they'd be like, "What?" And I'd be like, "Never."
Oh yeah, it's like I love obscure stuff. Like there's an obscure The State sketch. There's this guy named Doug, and he was just constantly getting mad. He'd be like, "My name's Doug, and I'm out of here," but he would never actually leave. Like he would just constantly keep saying that. So I would just be like, I would get ready to leave and go, "My name's Doug, and I'm out of here," and people would be like, "What?" Or I like to do "Show me potato salad." It's just a weird Family Guy reference that people are like, "What?" I'm like, yeah, I know. Hank Talistar, what's up, man? How you doing? How you feeling? Thanks for stopping by. It's good to see you, big buddy.
That was all the reference points I had. Similar to you, it was just, I think that's the best way of saying it. It was a decades long fever dream.
Yeah. And I remember also in the original movie, kind of get around exposition, they would have the characters in ADR like whispering their inner monologue.
Jesus.
Which I remember was really off-putting when I watched it even back then. I was like, God damn, there's a lot of them just staring at the screen and whispering. Is he really the one who can do this? What's he? It's just, it was really bonkers.
In preparation for the movie coming out, like over the summer, when it was being hyped and everything, I went and watched why was 1984's Dune so bad, and that was one of the things. I was like, my God, they showed all the scenes it happened from, and it was throughout the whole fucking movie.
Yeah,
so
absolutely. So I went in with high hopes because I watched the trailer. I'm like, it looked great, looked phenomenal. I like the actors in it. Timothy Chalamet, or is it Chalamet? If you French.
I think it's Chalamet.
Zendaya, Oscar Isaac.
I think it's Zendaya. We debated this last night because D is in there. DA, like it's not.
There was a woman at one of the jobs I worked at. I called her I was saying that her name was either Sumaya or Sumaya, and I always got it wrong because my gut was like, how do you say this? And she kept going, you're saying it wrong. I'm like, fuck, I'm so sorry. I hate doing that. But
Zendaya.
Go Zendaya. She's great. Oscar Isaac, Jason Momoa. You've got Stellar Skateboard. Got Dave Bautista.
Yeah.
Just great actors. I know I'm forgetting some people, but and the woman who plays Lady Jessica.
Yes.
I was sitting there just going, God, what do I know you from? And there was like 2 movies. Like one is Dr. Sleep. She plays the antagonist in that, and she's phenomenal.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
And then she was also in the most recent Hugh Jackman movie that came out on streaming called Reminiscence.
I don't recommend it.
No.
Okay.
Never even brought it up. I'm like, that was not worth my time. But great cast. I've never read the books. I've heard the books are tough, and it in my understanding too is that adapting that book ain't no easy feat. And right. I think
it's kind of like adapting The Sandman.
Yeah, or a Stephen King novel.
Right.
It's weird, it's bizarre, and partly with this too is it's like a whole nother language, man. Like I turned on subtitles because I was like, listen, I don't know what these folks are saying, what people's names are. They're bizarre, and I need to be able to associate a face with a name so that when they say it, I'll be like, cool, I know what they're saying, and we're good to go. And it was, it was a wise move. I did it after like 15 minutes. I'm like, let's turn this shit on. Let's stop fucking around. Like, I need to know what's going on.
Did you? I don't know if this was just my TV or I thought it was the way it was mixed. I cranked my TV. I had it like up to 30 something. And the first like 15 minutes, I couldn't hear fuck all of what they were saying. Like when Chalamet was at the table with his mother and they were just, before he used the voice and it got loud, when they were just having a conversation, like it was, I thought they had forgot to mix that part of the movie. It was so fucking low.
I was watching on my phone with my headphones, so it sounded just fine to me.
Dig it. Okay.
I think I watched the whole movie on almost the whole, at least half the movie on my phone. Oh, just the way the director wanted it to be.
I was going to say, I read a bunch after I watched it. I read a bunch of technical, like production stuff about it, and this is not the movie that you want to watch before. This is one of the few movies, and you and I have talked about how we're totally cool watching stuff at home. This is one of the few movies where I'm like, this screams to be watched on an IMAX screen. This just needs to. He did such a good job with the sweeping landscapes and these gorgeous imagery. Like,
you know what? Looks great on my phone.
I'm sure
it's great. Didn't hurt the experience at all. Beggars can't be choosers when you're a dad. When you're a parent and you're like, hey, I have, an hour to watch something, and kid and mom are watching the stuff on the TV. I'll just watch it on my phone. I think I watched the last part on the TV, so I did watch some of it. But honestly, it didn't affect me either way.
And not saying it's going to affect you. It's still a great looking movie, but I'm saying this is the type of movie that needs to be like fully immerse yourself in the big screen if you have the chance to do it.
Yeah. So it's funny because as I was watching it, I gotta say, Sly says, watching a movie on your phone is like shoveling your kid's leftover macaroni and cheese into your face while standing over the sink and calling that dinner. Very true. Very true. Take what you can get.
Right.
But I gotta say, like, stuff happens in the movie, but also not a lot happens at the same time.
The same thought. I almost said it the same way too. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's actually works in its favor because it leaves you really like excited for the sequel, which is officially the green. Because I think a lot of the critics, from what I saw, like were kind of lambasting it because like, Jesus, this is just all world building and no substance. But I'd also argue you got to do it. Like this is we don't know anything about this is a world that's basically like a sci-fi medieval Game of Thrones. Like you've got all these different houses. They've got their fiefdoms. There's an emperor. Like there's this, secret society of women who are like sort of in the shadows determining things, that outcomes.
Yeah.
There's a dude that can fly with robotic assistance. People have shields that they can turn on and turn off, and sometimes the shield stops things and sometimes it doesn't. I never really understood those rules, but I was also okay with it. Some guy's name is Duncan Idaho, which is what?
It's great.
That's wild. It's a great name, but it's like I feel like he should be a cowboy. Like
when he said Duncan Idaho, I'm like, oh, someone got lazy when they were writing.
Hold on a second. I mean, you've got some, we are the Paul Atreides, it's just like, what? Like Duncan Idaho.
Paul.
The Harkonnens.
Yeah, you came up with the Harkonnens and Arrakis. Couldn't you? And Paul is what you settled on? All right, fair enough.
Gilbert Johnson, what can I do for you? I comb the sand around here. How can I help you today? Just
comb the sand. You need sand combed? You call Gil.
Yeah, old Gil's here to help you.
Old
Gil.
No, I think that's true though. Like you needed to. You've got to set it up because it's so dense. It is such a dense material. And I had the same thought as when right at the end when Zendaya turned around and she's like, "This is just the beginning." And I was like, wait a second, that sounds like a closing line. And then the credits hit, and I'm like, that was a closing line. What the fuck? And I was like, there was no action. And then I stopped and I thought back. I'm like, no, there was almost nothing but action. There was a ton of action sequences in this. So I disagree that for people who say that nothing happened, a metric fuck ton happened.
Well, I think they were saying that it wasn't balanced, that they were saying there was more world building than there was substance, which I'm like, I think that was the right route to go. If you do it, is it a perfect movie? No, but considering what you have to work with and what you have to set up, it was required. And I think,
and also the second movie's gonna be crazy,
right? Speaking of crazy, after watching this, I hopped on Wikipedia and I was like, I just want to see how close the book was to the movie, and it seems like it followed it pretty closely. And then like, oh, cool, there's like 5 sequels. I just went through and read the synopsis on those. I hope they stop. Like, we'll do part 2 and then we'll just call it, because this shit gets fucking just batshit crazy.
Right.
I'd say maybe the second book we could tolerate. After that, it just turns into a goddamn nightmare. Like, I'm like, what? What are we doing? Slotty even goes, yeah, the last 2 books are absolutely bonkers. No shit.
Now, is it the last 2 books that he wrote? Because his son and someone else picked up in post 2019, released like 14 more or something.
Yeah, I don't know about anything that's in like
talking about his books solo.
Yeah, his books. Okay. I think there's like 6 of them.
Yeah, something like that.
All I gotta say is like I think it's between the second to last book, there's like, I think 1,200 to 3,000 year like span of like break in time of what happens.
Shit.
I'm like, cool. Nothing I love more than seeing, stuff that I really enjoyed and people that I really enjoyed just gone, and we're just picking up where we left out, like picked up with some other characters. I'm like, fuck you.
Brand new characters.
Fuck you. It's like, now you got to learn all this new shit that's happened in the interim of all these things. It's like, well, these people used to be there, but now they're kind of here and they're doing this thing and they've evolved. It's like, fuck you. Like, just eat shit. Like, let's just call it.
The other thing that I thought about this, and it was, obviously it was true of the 1984 version. The 1984 version was just weird. Yeah. Straight up, as most things in the 80s were just odd and uncomfortable and weird.
Mm-hmm.
There was a bunch of points in this where I was like, man, this is weird. Like some of the costumes, some of the what you can look at it and go, this is very weird. The way they're talking. And again, like even the names, like the Kwisatz Haderach and all that. And I had to get over that hang up because I was like, this is just a weird movie at times, and I don't know about this. It's not mainstream. And then I realized I've been so inundated with mainstream cinema and storytelling that yeah, it's weird and it's artistic and it's gorgeous. Like that's what I finally had to kind of like come to, where I was like, no, look at this as a piece of visual art, and it is mind blowing what this director was able to do. And from a technical perspective, I guess there was over 2,000 visual effects shots that were created for this film. And instead of using green screen, they used a brown screen, which they called sand screening. And it matches better the background of what they were actually putting on top of it. And that's something that as I was watching it, because even in the Marvel movies, as much money as they pump into those, there are times where Iron Man's mask comes up and you can see the suit kind of floating around his head.
Yeah.
Like it's not, you're like, that was digitally put on. Of course, there's not a miles long worm that lives underground, but I'm going to tell you that thing looked very, very convincing.
Yeah.
And the sand moving, there was a very specific type of software they used. It's a particle-based software that can really manipulate like particle movement. And they mimicked how water moves with sand. And
Impressive.
All of that looked like it was real, like it was really happening. The CG on this was some of the best that I've seen in a very long time.
Yeah, it looked very crisp, very clear. It had a very, in my opinion, a very pleasing aesthetic style to it. I think that honestly, again, I go back to it, like I was engrossed. Noah started like sort of live like messaging in the Discord about it, and he was kind of complaining after 20 minutes. But then like when he was done, he's like, that was a really good movie. He's like, I take it back. It was really, really good. But I mean, I don't know. I think for me, they did such a great job of, I don't know, like it felt like there was always tension, that there were stakes, that there was curiosity, like what's going on here, like what's going to happen,
How many people to die, quite frankly.
Yeah.
Like I was shocked when I was like, that's a decimation, man.
Yeah. And it wasn't super clear as to why it happened, but it happened, and again, after reading the synopsis, I was like, okay, I got more like information and perspective on it. I didn't think it was terribly clear as to why, all this was going down.
I'm assuming, and tell me if I'm right or wrong here, House Atreides was kind of gaining popularity and gaining a voice, and the Emperor was afraid that people were going to line up behind them and rise up. So he sent them in on a fool's mission, set them up to fail, and then sent in assassins to kind of finish the job. Okay.
Exactly. Yeah, he more or less was concerned they were accumulating power and like now they're a threat. So
yeah,
fuck these guys over. And what I love about it too is that like, Paul's dad knew it. Like we're gonna get fucked over here, and we gotta do what we can do. And I don't know. It was I don't know. I enjoyed it. I thought it was very interesting. It's tough for me sometimes dealing with like prophecy or dealing with, this person is ordained to be the savior, just because I always laugh at the line from the Lego movie at the very beginning when Will Ferrell's character, Mr. Business or whatever, is taking the artifact, and Morgan Freeman's character goes, wait, there's a prophecy, and Will Ferrell's character goes, oh right, great, now there's a prophecy. Like that's how I feel whenever there's a movie where it's like, it is written that. That's why I hated the Star Wars prequels, where it's like, it was in the prophecy that there's one that will bring balance to the Force. I'm like, why is there a prophecy?
There's always the one.
Why?
Harry Potter, the Lord of the. There's always the one.
Yes, I'm like, oh come on, man, like because then you start dealing with fate. You start dealing with, do people control their fate or do they make their own fate? And with this, I felt like it was a little bit different because it seemed like from your understanding of the secret society of ladies, and essentially like, listen, secret society of ladies, the SSOL,
Yep.
That should be a shirt, the secret society of ladies. Soul. That Lady Jessica was not supposed to do this. Like this was, and they're like, listen, we set a path, but whether or not he does anything with it is entirely up to him. Like we're just, we put things in motion, but we can't guarantee it. Like he has to essentially decide that he's going to do this or not, whatever. Like we're going to go about doing our own thing. So I appreciate how they almost sort of undercut that. And also you see him seeing visions, but those visions don't necessarily play out, because I was very confused at the end where I was like, oh, cool, this is a guy that's going to be a friend. And then he fights him and kills him. I'm like, oh, okay. Well,
also, before he fought him, he had a vision of that guy killing him.
Exactly.
And I was like, oh, he's got to die and come back. But I'm like, that didn't. So it's
right, because it says it's like, what does it say? You have to die to rise or something like that. That's what he's hearing.
Paul's got to die for the Kwisatz Haderach to rise.
Yeah. And what? Yeah. And then, but is that interpreted as that he dies by killing someone, right? He's losing a part of himself. Like, I like that it wasn't just like, this is what you have to do. He still, I don't know. I really enjoyed Paul. I like it when there's a badass character. He wasn't a badass, but you could see it like come out. Like the fact that he was able to track that hunter dart and just like catch it midair. And, he's still working on, he's like working on using the voice, and he's very, again, he knows how to put on the suit, and people are like, how do you know how to do this? He's like, I don't know. It just seemed right. There's things like that where you're getting the idea like this person's going to be really important, but not there yet. He's like Luke Skywalker in episode 4, except not annoying. He's just trying to figure himself out, but you can see like
I was going to town to get some thrusters for my thingamabobber. Right. Oh man.
Oh, come on, Dad. I want to go to the academy. Uncle Owen. Like, even seeing him in his visions, like he's seeing in the future, how he feels about it too, was really powerful.
Man. Yeah, that vision of when he comes out of the sand and fights, I'm like, dude, that's badass.
Well, not only that, but plus you see him like standing out and seeing people celebrating him, and he was like, there's a holy war in my name. They're killing in my name. And just like what I appreciate about things like that is what is the impact from that? Because right now Natalie's been watching this really shitty movie. I talked about this, I think, on the last podcast. Pedro Pascal in it, and Jill. I've seen like, I don't know, 25 seconds of it in passing. I'm like, I'm out. But Jill said there's like a part in that where the whole conceit is that there's these parents who have superpowers, their kids have superpowers, and the parents save the world. But Pedro Pascal, he's sworn off doing it because his wife died or some shit like that. And so he made a promise to his daughter. He's like, I'm not going to do that anymore. But guess what? Aliens attack. And now, like, I don't know, president or some shit's like, we need you to come back. And he's like, I made a promise. I'm not going to do this. Then she's like, well, you've got orders. He's like, okay, what do I need to do? Like, just, he changes on a dime because it's a kid's movie,
Sure, yeah.
And the idea of, that doesn't suit well to watch a grown man have a moral dilemma, for a kid's movie. Whereas something like this, he sees this vision, this kid who's a teenager, doesn't understand what he's seeing, and he's terrified by, like, I mean, a part of it, you can, maybe you can understand, like, the Fremen are been enslaved, they've been, beat to shit and everything like that. So part of it's like, yeah, we should, help them. But then to see we are conquering world after world, and they're doing it in my name. It's like the Superman of Steel stuff. Is like, if I try to be who I want to be, what does that mean? And just seeing that reaction, I thought that was a really cool moment where he's reacting and just like, they're fighting, they're killing. It's in my name, like a holy war in my name. Like, how do you handle that? Right? It'd be like if I had that vision. I'd be like, what are you doing in the name of Doug and his fart soundboard? Like
the worst thing ever. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
That's their battle cry.
Yeah. Right.
Atreides. It's just.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I was thoroughly like impressed by the film. That's a microphone in front of your face.
There's is that what that is? Jesus Christ.
You just draw off and sucker punch your mic. Like you just didn't know it was in front of your face this whole time.
Ah!
I'm being recorded?
Being recorded. Oh, there's a gnat that's dive bombing me, and it's very, very disconcerting. I don't like it.
He's given up.
Yeah. He's like, Atreides coming after me. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
I'm the sandworm for him.
There you go. It's like, oh my God, what is this thing?
Look, that sandworm is the hero in his own story, right?
Of course. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So powerful. So interesting.
So powerful. Yeah. Yeah, it was a great film. My goal was to read the book before it came out. I really wanted to have that first book down before this came out, so I could have a basis for it, see it, really appreciate it. And I knew there was no way that was going to happen, and it didn't. But I have a stronger resolve now to pick that book up and read it now, because now I'm invested in these characters. Now I'm like, cool. I know this. I've got it actually kind of worked in reverse. Now I have a framework for the book, and I can sit down and go, I know what, Atreides are. I know what the friend, I know all these things now, and I don't have to worry about keeping track of it. So
right. It's interesting too, because I also think it's pretty bold. I didn't realize it, but Denis Villeneuve, this was Dune Part 1. They hadn't greenlit a Part 2 yet.
I had the same thought.
That's a bold move to be like Dune Part 1, and because they're like, I mean, I'm sure the studio is like, I mean, hopefully.
The notes he got back from the studio heads were like, you might not want to do that. And he's like, I'll do it. And they're like, no, seriously, you might not want to. It's like, don't worry, this will work out in my favor.
Yeah,
I've seen visions.
Yeah. And because when they're like Dune Part 2 coming soon, he was like, yay! Like he was also excited. He's like, we get to do it again. It's like,
can we talk for just a minute too about Hans Zimmer's score in this?
I forgot that he did the score on it. It was amazing. It was so good.
Whoa. Wow,
so good. Yeah. He's such a god.
And he turned down Tenet. Thank God for this.
Interesting.
Nolan was like, I want you to do Tenet, and this guy was like, I'm doing Dune, and he goes, is equally as big a fan as the director of Dune, and he's like, I have dreamt about scoring for Dune, and he's like, Nolan, I've got to bow out on this one. Like, I know we work together, but not this time. So
yeah, that's a project. It was so good. Because that's one of those. I love it when I can when the soundtrack stands out to me. Music stands out, and it definitely stood out to me. He captured a really great feel for like when the music was playing, almost like what he did with the Joker. Like I really felt what it was like on, got the name of the Dune.
Araxis.
Oh yeah, there he goes. Arrakis.
Is it Arrakis? There it is. Yeah.
Like when you were there, like he captured what I think was a perfect theme for it. Because I also the trailer music for it in the trailer stood out to me as well. I was like, ooh, like the vocals and everything about it were very interesting. Okay.
Yeah. Well, in an interview, he had said that he and his team that he works with were in their studio, and they were like inventing instruments and taking instruments and playing them. And so they got real like conceptual and weird with it, which again, I feel like is just classic Hans Zimmer style. Is just, let's fucking get weird with it and see what comes out of it. And I would say, most of the time it's a fucking home run.
Yeah. I mean, if there's anyone who knows how to tell a story with music, it's him. John Williams, obviously. Most composers understand that concept of, I love the masterclass commercials for Hans Zimmer, because he's just like, music is telling a story, and he's like playing something. He goes like, ooh, there's a question, and it sounds like a question. He goes, and there's an answer, and it's not a good answer. And he's just like, he just adds different elements.
Yeah.
And I was like, God damn it, he's right. Like that's exactly what it is. Like understanding what it is that you're doing to help tell the story through music. And it's phenomenal. I watched someone had changed the music for the part in Spoilers Skywalker show. They had put in the original Force theme in there. Yes. Which I was like, it was interesting because I felt that was obviously more impactful because that music has a lot of weight to it. And it's just interesting how you can, if you have the right music, it's great. And if you have the wrong music, terrible.
Well, I had the same feeling in the new Ghostbusters trailer. Well, not the new one, the one that came, the new movie, the first trailer that came out for it.
For Afterlife?
Someone recut that and put the Ghostbusters theme song at the end. And every time I go back and watch it, I know it's coming. I still get goosebumps because I'm like, that is so much more of like it pulls on some memory or some heartstring, and it emotionally gets you invested. Whereas in the original trailer, I was like, okay, like that is what it is,
So funny because I disagree on that, because I feel like that theme, in my mind, unless you found a way to redo it, or modernize it, because that song is so fucking cheesy in a good way. of to me, it didn't fit with the tone of the trailer.
Interesting.
Because that to me is very fun. Ghostbusters. Yeah. That's like the end of the movie, like, you know, everyone's dancing. They're like, they just killed the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. Woo! Like it was very, you know, when that song was there. So to put it into this trailer to me, which was a little ominous, a little mysterious.
It was, yeah.
But I see your point too. Like if they had found a way to do what they typically do in that stuff, where they modernize it, maybe make it a little grittier, throw in a little bit of
does it.
dubstep, you know, whatever, you know, just find a way to sort of be like, oh, cool, that's what it is, you know.
Who are the guys? Daft Punk, yeah. When they were still around, yeah.
It's
I remixed the thing.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. It was. I mean, you and I remember sending you something. This still, for some reason, is stuck in my memory banks. When the Assassin's Creed trailer came out years ago, and they used a Kanye West song for it.
We talked. Yes,
I remember distinctly at work finding the exact. I was telling him, like, this is garbage. Here's an example of how you can make this better. And I took, I gave you the exact time to play some of the original soundtrack from The Dark Knight Rises with them chanting.
Sure.
Things.
Yeah.
I'm like, play this from here to here and tell me that's not a better trailer. Because I was like, this doesn't fit. Why are you playing Kanye?
Right.
And I know Assassin's Creed it's kind of a period piece. It also takes place in the future. But it was so.
It was only because the vocals, the words fit to what was going on in that moment. And that has its place, but if it's off, you fucked yourself completely.
Yeah, it's amazing to me how stuff like that can. I mean, I think of, like, you know, but the scene I always go to is Return of the Jedi, the throne room scene when Luke's getting, you know, scorched by lightning. Vader does his turn, the music that's building, and then as it turns, as Vader goes and grabs the Emperor, and you get the Star Wars theme swell as it's happening. Like it's fucking unbelievable. And same thing with the Dark Knight. You know, when you have those musical cues that kick in, it just adds another layer to it that is unbelievable. And it's Hans Zimmer fucking, is it that impactful in Dune? No, but it's noticeable. Extremely noticeable in this film that he knew, like, how to do that, how to play it. Makes me, tickles me.
It makes me endlessly happy just to know that someone who is such a fan of that source material and who had dreamt about doing that for years. Same with the director. He had in another interview, he was telling the actors that he had been sitting on this for like 20 something years. Like he had been, since he was a kid, thinking, how would I make this into a movie? And I can't remember which actor it was. I think it was Oscar Isaac. No, I can't remember who it was, but they had asked him on set, like, looking around, is this what was in your head? And he just smiled and just goes, it's exactly it. Like, he got to finally tell exactly the vision that he'd been sitting on for so many years. And if that doesn't speak to you specifically, Doug,
working on it, man. Working
talking about it. I know, man.
A little bit at a time. I have a hard time with writing stuff.
And that's fair.
I work in short bursts where I'm at my best. But I think I get a little scared sometimes though when people are like, "Oh, I'm a diehard fan," because I've seen diehard fans create stuff.
Sure.
It doesn't pan out. If anything, it's actually more of a red flag to me. Someone says they're a diehard fan, because I'm like, I don't know, like, because it cuts both ways. Because if you're a diehard fan, you know the intricacies of it, sometimes too well that you can't be a versus someone who's like, cool, give me this stuff. It's like handing your shit over to an editor who wasn't a part of it. They're like, cool, I'm gonna edit the story for you, and they do it, and you're like, I needed that because I don't have someone who's like, no, this is the shot, and it's like, no, this shot sucks, doesn't tell the story, this one's better, I'm gonna do this. You know, you sometimes need that. So you know, like George Lucas, too close to his own, you know, shit.
Can we just talk about him for 4 hours?
Some more, please. Do it.
I'll tell you what I want to do more of. I want to do more of a segment that people are clamoring for.
Yeah, they are.
You got the questions, we got the answers. All you do is ask. Practical, practical, practical. Practical, ask Practical Doug.
I'm not gonna lie, I forgot we were doing this. Completely skipped my mind. So
yeah, all right.
Oh, my dog just.
It is the second time it's happened.
Ah.
Yep. And then she left, and then someone closed her door. It was very.
Oh shit!
I thought the dog did. Yeah.
Fortunately, the stream can't.
Yeah. I know we're running long, so we won't make this too long. Yeah. But this question is from one of our super fans. It's from, I think it's pronounced Jaryid. It says, if a mind, and Doug doesn't even want to answer it. He's just standing up and walking away. Jaryid, I'm sorry, man. This is what you get here. It says, if a mind reader and someone who can see into the future play chess, who wins?
All right. I'm going to go with my gut on this because I've thought about this for a couple of days. Okay. So here's Practical Doug's logic in this. And it's a paradox. So there you go. But someone can see into the future. Because there's also ramifications here, right? There's stipulations. Does the person who's seeing into the future, are they seeing a possibility, or is that the set future? Can they alter the future by knowing what the future is? Because if they can alter, or if it's, because they can alter the future, and it's almost like Doctor Strange, right? That they can see the possibilities,
right?
Then they will know what to do to set up the person who can read their mind to make them do what they want them to do.
Right.
In which case, I would give that to the person who can see in the future. But if the person who can see into the future, if it's locked in place, them seeing into the future doesn't give them any sort of benefit.
Right. Because if they're seeing themselves lose.
Exactly. Because that's the thing. Because if they see themselves lose, the person who can read their mind knows that they can see themselves lose. I feel like the person, because even if the person can see the different outcomes of the future teller, the person I would say that can read their mind can also see that as well. To some degree, right? They can see into the future. Yeah, I'd imagine they do that with their mind. The mind reader could also see those possibilities.
Maybe. Depends on if they use the right lobe. I don't know.
Again, stipulations and things like that. But I would say that in that case, if the person can read someone else's mind, in my argument is they can also essentially have the same power. Then that gives them the advantage,
right?
Because they can see exactly what the other person can see.
Absolutely,
So at that point, it's evened out. But the person who can tell the future can't read the other person's mind. They can just see outcomes.
Right.
So
they don't know how to get there. They just have to trust it's going to happen.
They see the future. So, but again, I think you need more details to kind of clear it up. But I'm going to say the person who can read minds is the one.
Guys, that was a very tight, consolidated, condensed, and to the point. Ask Practical Doug.
You got the questions, we got the answers. All you do is ask. Practical, 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 practical. Ask Practical Doug.
Rolling on through.
Welcome to the Throwdown.
God damn, you get bit on bit on bit.
God damn.
Listen, watch, listen. Consume us.
All right. First of all, I'll say to the council, you motherfuckers, this is a good one. Good one.
Ooh.
This is a good one.
Okay. Jeez. This is going to be tough. I haven't even looked at their stats yet.
Yeah.
But I don't need to see how they're stacked because, this is a tough one.
Yeah. Roll them drums.
All right. All right, Dougie.
This week's Throwdown is a Disney Throwdown featuring Disney's Hercules versus Maui from Moana.
All right. Hot. God damn.
All right. I will start with Mr. Hercules. I do love that we do have to specify which Hercules because there are so many versions of them out there. So
KH? What does that mean? What is KH Hercules? Well, on above him, there's the adult teenager baby KH.
Oh, Kingdom Hearts. A video game.
Stupid. Okay, go ahead.
Wow, yeah, they're different. Okay, so adult.
When you're saying because he's appeared in so many different iterations, or he's been iterated so many times in mythology and all that, yeah.
So he is technically a demigod, as is Maui. So I think again, this is a very great matchup. Superhuman strength. It says immortality, but formerly. Eternal youth, formerly. Charisma, extended longevity, accelerated aging, super endurance, durability, stamina, building reflexes, hand-to-hand combat, swordsmanship. Okay. So powers, demigod physiology. We talked about super strength, stamina, speed. He's a trained hero because he practiced, trained. Immortality and universal divinity capabilities. So during his brief time as a god, Hercules was completely immortal. So I guess like he didn't stay that way. So
okay.
Don't have any weaknesses. All right, cool. So Hercules in a nutshell, we you know who Hercules is. Strong dude, knows how to fight. He's been trained. He's the son of Goose. From Top Gun.
He's right, exactly. I was going to say, the Maverick has been taking care of him for all these years.
Yes. Son of Zeus, half human, half demigod. Talk about Maui.
Cool. So he is, again, a demigod of the wind and sea. His powers and skills, he's got shape-shifting ability, superhuman strength, wayfinding, immortality, and invulnerability. His hobbies include defending the ocean and showboating.
Right.
The thing that I will say about, well, let's scroll down here, because his powers and ability, superhuman strength, extreme strength, can jump real high. He can pull islands up, lasso the sun. Big dude. Immortality. Since becoming a demigod, he's virtually immortal. Shape-shifting, illusions, and sentient tattoos. Equipment, he's got a fish hook, which, if I'm not mistaken, and you saw this movie way more than I did.
What do you want to
know? He needed that hook to shapeshift and perform his magic for most of the movie. At the end, could he do it without it? Did he find the magic inside?
No, his big thing was getting his hook back, so he could do the shape shifting and that. But he had been without it for so long. Finally got it. He had to remember how to.
Wasn't it cracked too, or something?
It did get cracked at one.
Okay.
And because they went to fight Taka, and Fishhook got busted. He got mad and he left. Moana was like, "I'm going back in," and he comes with her and decides that, she's returning the heart of Tafiti is more important than his fishhook, and it breaks at one. Then he gets paid for. Most of his power is in his fishhook.
Cool. So there's something right there. If Hercules can free him of his fishhook, Maui, he's still got insane strength, but so does Hercules.
I'll say, like, his ability to shapeshift is all in his fishhook, but obviously his strength is in him. Yeah, exactly. So it is a pretty big thing, and I would be safe. It's safe to say that if he's using it as a weapon, Hercules can grab it. This isn't necessarily a bladed weapon. It's a bone fishhook. That I would say more than anything, it's more for bludgeoning than
I would say it's a melee weapon now.
Definitely a melee weapon that's more about bludgeoning and less about like cutting. So he's gonna try and actually swing that, which I don't think he would. That seems like a really bad idea. He'd be like, "I'm gonna hit him over the head with the fish hook." It seems like he would just sort of like. Although the things we see him shapeshift into are, I guess mostly eagle, whale, shark. Guppy, bug. It's not like I'm a T-Rex or anything, but even then, I would argue, Hercules fought off a Hydra, a many-headed Hydra. So T-Rex ain't shit to him.
I also say, Maui is very full of himself too.
Yes, very, 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 very full of himself.
Very full of himself. So I don't know. He could that get in his way? What is Hercules' weaknesses?
They don't really list it, but I would say in the movies, because I actually have seen most of that movie all the way through, thanks to Natalie, he does have some confidence issues. In that he's trying to basically become a god by doing all these deeds, being trained by Danny DeVito as a satyr, trying to get him, ready to go. And Danny DeVito's character used to train Achilles, so he's trying to get Hercules up and running. So Hercules is obviously very strong, but he's not super confident. And I'd say even at the apex of he can be tricked relatively easily in the sense of
it's not intelligent.
He's not intelligent.
Well, it says his strength is well above average. He isn't all that intelligent.
Yeah,
what he lacks in brains, he makes up for with compassion.
Exactly. So he's pretty compassionate. So I actually almost would give Maui an advantage here because Maui he's a trickster god.
That's true.
He does illusions.
Yeah, that's true.
Kryptonite is Hercules. That's his weakness, is kryptonite. Yeah, I would say that Maui's got tricks up his sleeves, and I think Hercules would fall for it. But the thing is, whatever he falls for, can he punch his way out of it?
That's yes.
Because he can most of the time.
That Maui is also equally, he's invulnerability and immortal.
Yeah.
And super, super strong, right? Like,
yeah.
His strength also lies in his lungs. He can produce massive amounts of gusts of wind to clear a path. He harnessed the breeze in the world's air. Perform, single-handedly dredging up islands, lasting in the sun, pushing up the sky. Immortality, survived a desert island, and attacks from monsters and other deities. Yeah, man, I don't know. I feel like because he is a little bit more of a trickster god and Hercules is a little bit more simple, while Hercules is super strong, Maui's got the hook, and if he doesn't have it, he still has his strength and his invulnerability.
And
I feel like I know who I'm leaning towards.
Based on what we've seen in movies, Hercules does some cool stuff, but Maui stole the heart of Tafiti from a fucking goddess. And then he got banished on an island for 1,000 years. Like, survived, right? No big deal.
And it's still swole.
Yeah, still swole as hell. And, you look at Hercules, did some great stuff, but I don't think he has the experience that Maui does.
Right.
Because, what we've seen is his lifespan in movies isn't as nearly as long as Maui. Maui has done amazing feats. And he stole the fire from down below to give to the humans, and did wind, and he did all these things. Oh my God, that's yeah, I know. It was just part of the song. God, I'm so
right. Oh, you're welcome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So based on those feats, Maui's done a lot, and I think that he would potentially pull one over on Hercules, and I think you could argue that their strength is relatively matched, and therefore, if he has the advantage by tricking him, I think he has the opportunity to defeat him.
So we're saying,
yeah.
Yay, indeed, small group of children.
Indeed. Well, that was fun. That was a good episode, man. It was delightful.
Delightful, as they say.
Delightful. What do you got to recommend this week?
Man, I feel like we're both probably going to go the same way with this, but I'm recommending Dune. Go check it out. It's on HBO Max. If you haven't already seen it, then what the hell were you doing listening to this? Because we gave a lot away, but we didn't necessarily give everything away. So go check it out and let us know what you think of it, I would say.
Yeah, we didn't go scene by scene or anything, but we did talk about a lot of different aspects. Definitely check that out. I don't know. I haven't consumed a lot of content lately. I started watching Cowboy Bebop on Netflix because the live action's coming out, and Netflix has the original anime on there.
Okay.
I'm 9 episodes in, and I had to unfortunately ask the Discord. I was like, not to be a dick, does this get good?
Dude, if you talk to people if they they are hardcore. I don't think I've ever met anyone who has talked about it who has been lukewarm on it.
Dude, that was one of the ones that Tim Sosko gave us a talking to about that we hadn't seen yet.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there going like, Noah's like, I'm loving it. Maybe it's not for you. I'm like, that's a real possibility. Everyone who, because I had the same response. I go, anyone who's ever talked about this has said this is an amazing show, and it's right. Not like 300 episodes. It was just 2 seasons, so episodes total.
Okay.
Not much. I'm just like feeling it. So,
can you identify what it is about it that you're not liking?
It's Monster of the Week. I hate Monster of the Week. It's cool. What's going on this week with these guys? Oh, they're bounty hunters. Who are they hunting this week? How are they going to fuck it up and be poor? Like, it's just kind of over and instantly doing that stuff. I'm like, oh, I hate Monster. That is a format to me that was exhausted when I was a kid. Most shows.
Yeah.
I'm like, it's not engaging. And sometimes shows start out that way to kind of let you get to know, because you get a little bit more from these characters in some episodes, like knowing their backstory. But I keep going, it's still the same shit. Like, I'm not feeling it. So I want to keep powering through with that, because I want to get to the end, because the live action looks fun.
Yeah. Is it a live action show series, or is it? It is.
Yep.
Doug, then I have bad news for you. If you don't like the show as an animated show, there's probably a good chance you're not going to like, because they're probably going to do a Monster of the Week again.
Well, I mean, I've seen the trailers for it, and they are super well done and creative. Like,
I'm sure,
and the actors are great. Sure. So, but again, like, I kind of want to get through. If I get through the anime and I'm like, yeah, I'm not feeling it, then I probably won't watch the live action. But right now, I'm like, so I don't currently recommend Cowboy Bebop, but I'll get back to you on that.
I love the fact that you're sticking with it, though. You're really trying to like it.
I really want to understand it, like, because I'm also trying to put myself in the mindset of, like, when did this come out? This came out in the mid to late 90s. Like,
okay, yeah.
What made this above and beyond at the time? Like, what has taken influence from this and built on top of the shoulders of this show to this day, that I appreciate something more modern that was inspired by that thing. And I go back and watch that thing, and maybe in my mind I'm like, oh, this has already been done. I don't see what's so great about it, sort of situation. Yeah. I'm trying to keep that perspective too, as I watch it. But I'm like, I'm not feeling it right now. But we'll see. I don't.
All right, I'll
check it out.
That.
Not really a recommendation this week.
Let me get a hot take from you real quick.
Sure.
Jason Momoa, no beard. Hot take.
I'm used to him with a beard.
I am too. Threw me off.
Khal Drogo and Game of Thrones, Aquaman, like most things he's in, he has some sort of scruff. Instagram. I mean, he had beard in the movie, and then he didn't.
Yes.
And I prefer him with a beard.
The sandstorm blew his beard off, is what it was.
Yeah. I definitely prefer him with a beard. I'm, in general, more of a fan of facial hair than not. When people train their shit off, I'm like, why?
I definitely think the beard ages him up a few years, though. With it off, I'm like, oh, baby face. And
definitely.
Rob actually had a hot take. He's like, not going to lie, kind of a chunky face.
Wow. Say that to his face, Rob.
I was also like, yeah, but he's still jacked, so.
Say that to his face.
I wouldn't say that to him, but all right, yeah.
Shit, Rob.
Anyway,
thank you all for listening, and please don't forget to follow us on all our social medias at Mind Gap Podcast. Be sure to check out our YouTube channel, where we post all of our episodes as well as highlights from the shows and the video game live streams. Check us out on Twitch, twitch.tv/MindGapPodcast. Hit the follow button and turn on the notifications so you know whenever we go live, because we do live stream our podcast episodes Tuesdays at 8 p.m. Central, and I host the video game live stream on Saturdays at 8 p.m. Central. Please check us out there, and don't forget to follow Justin online as well.
On Instagram and Twitter at Justin_Michael, spelled Mikel. It's the fun way of spelling it. And while you're in the online realm, check us out on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Amazon Music, all the places that you can find podcasts. You can probably find us. Share us around, subscribe, rate, review, all those good things that everyone always asks you to do. They go a long way, and we really appreciate it. TwoEast8th.com/mindgap, and then just keep an eye on all of 2 East 8th stuff.
Hell yeah! Yeah, this is great. So I just want to listening. First of all, I want to say,
and Douglas, thank you.
To that gnat in your place, thank you.
To that gnat, fuck you.
To Twitch, thank you.
Listeners, thank you.
And you all have a dandy fucking week.
Mind Gap Podcast.